You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I am your host, Darren Bresnitz. Today we sit down with Chuy Cervantes of Damien and Detroit Taqueria in Los Angeles, where he's the chef de cuisine. We chat about him growing up in El Paso, his fateful meeting with Enrique Olvera, his move to Brooklyn, and eventually his settling in LA. It's a great culinary journey, and he shares a lot of great stories with us. And if you haven't been to Damien, this is the week to try to go if you can, because of the 1 week only pool hole pop-up. There are some seats at the bar. Give them a ring. They might be able to squeeze you in, but no promises. And then we head into the archives where our old HRN engineer Joe stopped by with his band, Big Ups, who had recently released their album 18 Hours of Static. We chat about band life, touring, and which of the members dominates in the kitchen. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
When I talk about it, carries on, reasons only new. When I talk about it, treaties are, treasons all renew. Beg me to talk about it, I can't stand to prove. If we can get around it, I know that it's true. When I talk about it, carries on, reasons only new. But it's you I fell into. Well, I talked about it, carried on, reasons only new. Well, I talked about it, Aries or treasons all renew. Beg me to talk about it, I can't stand to prove. If we could get around it, I know that it's true. When I talked about it, put it on, never was it true. But it's you I fell into. Well, I talked about it, put it on, never was it true. But it's you I fell into. I fell into. I fell into. Fell into.
Chuy, welcome to Snacky Tunes. Thanks for sitting down. Thanks also for having my buddy and I in the other week. It was a fantastic meal. It was great to be back, sipping on some mezcal margaritas. Always a good time.
Hey, Darren. Yeah, super happy to have you in. Obviously, the mezcal is very necessary for part of the meal and for having a good time with your friend.
Yeah.
And also super happy to be here and sitting down with you for a little chat.
No, I appreciate it. He's about to have his first kid in about a month. And so this was sort of, let's go have a nice long dinner and have a couple drinks before the baby comes. So it was a perfect meal for a night like that. I want to go back all the way back to the beginning. You're from Texas, El Paso. specifically. What was growing up there like? Who cooked? What were the flavors of your childhood that you remember?
Yeah, so it's right on the border where I grew up. It's an actual stone's throw away from Mexico, right over the bridge to Juarez.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the centric theme of how I grew up. My parents both moved from Mexico at a young age to El Paso, both in their teenage years. My mom a little bit younger, but my dad in his teenage years. So I think their assimilation to maybe not so much American culture, but at least border culture, definitely, kind of laid down the theme for the way that I was going to be raised. And it was as the prime example would be the way that we spoke, Spanglish being that
Sure.
kind of term that we throw around, but a mix of Spanish and English, mix of Mexican tradition and newly found American tradition that they were kind of assimilating to. And obviously for us, came a lot more, I guess the difference for us started to become a little bit more evident once we started to go to school and, get to know other people outside of my family, because as far as I was concerned, everyone that I knew was Mexican. Yes, we lived in the United States, but we were Mexican, all of my family and all of my cousins and everyone. So once we got to school, that's when I think the little bit of confusion started, the little bit of who am I? What are we? What do we, identify as? And at an early age to kind of have those questions in your head was, maybe strange and challenging, but definitely something that shaped who I am now for the better. And back then it was that, when we were eating too, it was very much a mixture of my parents cooking, mostly my mom, and very humble cooking, very home, simple Mexican cooking. I think once we kind of wanted to do anything a little bit more celebrational or a little bit more traditional, that's when my dad's side of the family came in. My dad was a terrible cook, and he wouldn't mind me saying that anyway, but
it happens.
He loved his, extremely well done steaks, and the thinner the better. I mean, they're used to like cecina, which is like,
of course,
jerky for
more or less.
So yeah, from my mom's side, it was more so the learning of that home cooking, that what that meant at home. And from my dad's side, it was like that bigger format, that traditional, like celebratory style of cooking, a lot of large, carnitas and barbacoas and things like that. My dad's side of the family is enormous. He has 14 brothers and sisters. So the gatherings were definitely kind of what shaped my idea of cooking and how it should be shared and should be enjoyed. And obviously all of that was Mexican in tradition. So it was a little bit of, assimilation to it. Hot dogs at school and pizza, and then going home to calabacita with arroz and frijoles. And then on the weekends, it was huge, large format carnitas and, tubs full of beer and stuff like that. So it was a very different environment in all aspects, but a lot of fun for sure.
No, it sounds like a lot of fun, and definitely food being a central theme to your family and to life and to celebration. But that doesn't always lead to someone cooking professionally. When did you start thinking about working in kitchens, and what drew you to Austin as a place to get in the, some bigger kitchens for the first time?
I'll be, 100% honest. I like I said, cooking was not a huge part of what I knew growing up. It was more so in that celebratory format when I thought like, wow, this is really cool. But that was just more so for the party and for hanging out with the family and all that. I think there was a moment in my life when I made a decision based on maybe a lot of subconscious thought and knowing without really knowing that it was the right decision. But essentially, after I graduated high school, a lot of my friends decided to move to Austin or got accepted to the University of Texas. They're in Austin or to nearby schools. And so that's where, the waves were going. All of my friends were going. It was a cool place to be. The last place you wanted to be was back home in El Paso, which now I look back and is an amazing city. But at that point,
of course,
it's where I grew up. You want to get out of there. Yeah. So all of my friends were moving that way. And I started to figure, okay, well, I didn't get the best grades in school. And I don't really have that much kind of like thought as far as a career trajectory. So what can I do? And what am I kind of interested in that I like? And I started kind of looking up different things, different kind of trades. And I was like, I really enjoy cooking. So I looked up the culinary school out there, and I just kind of went through the process of learning the information and everything about it without even commenting to my parents that it was something that I was interested in at all.
It's Le Cordon Bleu in Austin, right?
It was a Le Cordon Bleu school. At that time, it was called Texas Culinary Academy, but it was like kind of an extension of them.
Yeah. No, I remember it from my time there.
And so that I kind of went through that process behind my parents' back and just kind of like, how do I get out of El Paso? How do I go be with my friends and just go hang out where everything is at? And I just want to be there and party with my friends, essentially. So then I one day just presented it to my parents, and I was like, I want to be a chef. I want to cook. And they kind of like, half seriously, took it half seriously, kind of like laughed it off a little bit. And really the message from them was like, sure, go ahead and do it. Like, we want you to do anything that you'd like. We're there to support any kind of interest that you're in.
Amazing.
But that career is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And what we'll kind of agree on with you is go and do that. Go into the culinary school for a year and a half, do that process, and then come back to El Paso or apply to another university and go through the regular kind of schooling route and get your business degree so you can come back and probably take over your dad's business and do that whole thing. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. That's the agreement. I get to go party in Austin with my friends and
all time.
And then I'll figure out the rest later. So then I get to Austin and I go to culinary school, and the schooling part of it is difficult for me. Like growing up, school was hard for me. Like I was, I guess the comment was always, he's a really smart kid, but he doesn't dedicate himself. So that kind of started to happen to me in culinary school as well. I wasn't getting the best grades, but I was getting a lot of commentary from my professor chefs at that point that were like, you're good at this. Like, you can do this. Like, we see something in you, but you have to take the schooling part seriously.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to finish this or not, but
might as well. You're already there and you're paying for it, right?
Yeah. And I was not going to let my parents down because then the deal was going to be absolutely broken. I would be back at home and the whole thing. So I start to take it serious. I really do. And head down and really, get into it. And I start to make relationships there. And that's where I kind of just start to get that feeling of like, not only is this a career, not only is this something that I'm good at, this is something where I'm like creating relationships with people that have like this similar interest, but also like this enthralling interest. Like it's an interest that we all have as human beings, and we can all share it together. But we're like, once we start dedicating ourselves to it, and I see the 3 classmates that I had out of the 35, 40 that you can tell we're going to be like, dedicated to it. And, I saw myself like gravitating towards them. And at that same time, I was in Austin still having the fun with my friends that I intended to get out there and be with. So it ended up being an amazing situation. And then once once you get out of culinary school, and that's like you hit the real world.
Yes.
You know, the kind of the externship that all culinary students have to do is kind of your first experience. If you haven't worked in a kitchen before, and I hadn't, other than like this really humble like cafe situation in El Paso, but in a real kitchen. So I applied for an externship at this place called Parkside, downtown Austin, right in the heart of 6th Street, right in the heart of the madness of 6th Street. But like Sean Circle at that time was like,
shout out to Sean.
Yeah, shout out to Chef Circle. He was like the young, hot, like cool chef that was like kind of pushing the boundary a little bit. So everybody wanted to work with him. So I applied, and sure enough, they're like, you're going to be an extern. You're going to work for minimal payment, and you're going to scrub oysters all day, every day, and like pick parsley. And that's essentially what I did for a few weeks. I didn't finish my externship there actually, because it was my first introduction to like that really intense, hard kitchen culture that I don't think I was ready for.
Sure.
So I was there for about a month, and it was actually a conversation with Chef Sean that really opened my eyes. And at kind of towards my end of my time there, and as part of your externship, you have to get like this letter signed that's like a proof of your work there and a proof of you're doing the thing. So it was the last time that I asked him to sign it, and he said, I can't sign this for you because I don't think that you want this. And he told me, I think I'd be doing you a disservice and to continue to allowing you to think that this career is for you. And for me, it wasn't that I was doing anything wrong. I was just kind of showing up, but it was kind of like, I think his opportunity to like, maybe like scare me straight and like, I guess the reality check of like, if you want this, this is what it's going to be like. It's going to be like these types of conversations, and it's going to be, harder than even this. So it scared me, like it really scared me, and it scared me away to a point to where like, man, I can't even like face this situation anymore. And so I let him know that I just wasn't going to come back to Parkside, which ended up being, things happen for a reason, I guess. And so at that same time, I had to like find another opportunity. So I went to this place that was also kind of like a hot restaurant at the time and continues to be a great restaurant, La Condesa. And the reason why I went there was because it was a Mexican restaurant. And I thought, okay, well, I just need to feel something that I kind of like understand, or that I can kind of like level with, or be around people that like I feel a little bit more comfortable with. And so I went for it. I applied for an externship there as well. They accepted me, and immediately from day one, it was like, okay, echoing in the back of my head was what Chef Sean had just told me. But in front of me was the situation that was going to work for me, because I saw a lot of familiarity, but I saw a challenge in front of me that I didn't want to fail at. And I think the Mexican kind of situation in that was that side of me kind of like growing up in the border, where like seeing my parents in a kind of difficult situation themselves, but like that no quit in them. Yeah. And now me being in a Mexican restaurant and smelling these scents and being around people describing these flavors that I know, and they're not confusing to me, but they're welcoming to me. And they really took me under their wing there. And so that's kind of where like, I knew, and I just kind of like went in for it. I worked my ass off. I still have relationships with the people that I worked with there to this day, because it was such an amazing kind of like jump off point in my life. But a lot of credit to Chef Sean for not signing that externship form, because if he did, then maybe I would have just continued on, right. Kind of that regular line cook, bouncing around from different jobs to one cool chef to the next cool chef, until maybe later in life I found that one opportunity. But I knew from day one, the second I stepped into La Condesa, that I was like, okay, this is it. This is actually it.
And La Condesa was an important restaurant in Austin because it was a very high-end fine dining in the city for Mexican food at a time when that wasn't as normal as it is today with like a Suerte or something like that. So it was great for you to wind up there and to be in that kitchen when it was really firing on all cylinders is something new. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about how you met Enrique, the opening of Damien in LA, and the upcoming restaurant partnership dinner series you have with Pujol coming up next week. We have a song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Our love's a strange one. It could leave you lonely. When that sly moon rises, I still wonder how you are. I was a strange girl. You used to tease me sometimes. You were the golden child, all American boy in their eyes. Don't let me tell you about the heartache that I'm feeling when I know for sure. I'll let you know for sure. Midnight smoking candles, people are pairing off. I'm all alone again. It don't hurt that much. So if you're thinking of me tonight, maybe let it go. Maybe let it go. Maybe let it go. Oh, we could be together. We fall apart. The child in me, you know, almost a bad shot in the dark. Don't let me tell you about the heartache that I'm feeling when I know for sure. I'll let you know for sure. Midnight smoking candles, people are pairing off. I'm all alone again. It's all that much. If you're thinking of me tonight, maybe let it go. Maybe let it go. Maybe let it go. Oh, could it be you still think of me from time to time when you see the siren rise up? When the wind blows, God only knows I still think of you. That I let it go. Can we say what we want? But can we say what we want? I thought I saw blood on the oleanders night. Thought that I was old enough to understand you. When you see that slime rise, do you still think of me? Don't let me tell you about the heartache that I'm feeling when I know for sure. I'll let you know for sure. Midnight smoking candles, people are pairing off. I'm all alone again. It don't hurt that much. So if you're thinking of me tonight, maybe let it go. Maybe let it go. Maybe let it go. Oh, could it be you still think of me from time to time when you see the siren rise up? When the wind blows, God only knows I still think of you. That I let it go. Can we say what we want? Or can we say what we want? Or can we say what we want? Or can we say what we want?
Hello and welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We're chatting with Chef Chuy Cervantes, and you're in Austin. And having been part of the Austin to New York / Brooklyn pipeline myself, what eventually drew you to the city?
So it was the job. It was the announcement that Chef Enrique Olvera was opening a restaurant in New York City, I had just left La Condesa in Austin. I actually kind of went on a little quick adventure. I went to Barcelona for a couple of months, just to kind of like get away and see if I could land some jobs there. And I did just like real quick stints. And then at that exact moment, Chef Enrique had announced that the Cosme opening,
which was huge.
It was huge, especially for me, who had just been working at La Condesa, which at that time was one of the few kind of fine dining Mexican restaurants in Texas, but a lot of the country as well. So it was really exciting to hear that. And so as soon as the announcement was made, I just kind of reached out to whatever email I could find.
Yeah.
As
how you do it.
As you do. Yeah, as you do, and as you did more so back then. Now it's a DM on Instagram.
It's a DM.
Back then it was like, where can I connect with someone? But so I just kind of sent out an email, a feeler, I guess. Luckily got a response, but the response did say that the restaurant was, not anywhere near opening. It was quite some time away. But I kind of responded with enough interest to land an interview. I interviewed with Chef Mariana, and then she kind of passed along my initial interview and my resume to the chef de cuisine at that time, Chef Daniela. And luckily for me, and extremely luckily for me, she went to the same culinary school that I went to and had a lot of the same chef professors that I had. And so she reached out to them. They told her that was somebody that she should be interested in. And so she reached out to me while I was still living in Barcelona and told me, if you can make it out here to New York, you got a job. So
on that next flight, right?
Yeah. And it was easy for me because at that time I was running out of money. So it was essentially go back to Texas or it was kind of like try to figure out in Barcelona if I could land a job or go back home, or with the money I have left, go to New York. So I got on. I
had that same, not the Barcelona part, but I had a very similar stay in Austin or move to New York type of crossroads myself. And moving to New York is always the answer.
I think it's always going to be the answer. It has to be the answer.
It has to be the answer.
Yeah. To anyone out there listening, it has to be the answer.
It does. Yeah.
So I made it out to New York, but with that kind of understanding that the restaurant was still under construction and had some time. So luckily at that moment, Chef Danny Bowen of Mission Chinese Food had just opened a little cantina in the Lower East Side.
Yeah, great burritos. Yeah.
Mission Cantina. And the cool thing is that he was doing nixtamal. He was like really one of the only people in New York for sure. And again, at that time, that Mexican food was just not as available and kind of studied in this country and able to kind of produce these things. He was one of the few people in the country also in a restaurant format, kind of doing nixtamal. And one of the kind of interview points with the Cosme team was, since I had a Mexican restaurant background, that was like huge for them. But I kind of like lied a little bit and told them that I had nixtamal and masa and like tortilla making background, which I had very little of. I mean, from where I grew up, we were flour tortilla people in the north. So I grew up eating very few fresh corn tortillas. So it was exciting to know that Danny had that restaurant. So I reached out to Danny and I told him kind of my situation. I told him that I had a position at Cosme, but it was an opening for some time. If I could kind of like,
of course,
work there and kind of especially focus on the tortillas. And
I'm sure he was stoked about that as well.
Yeah, I was stoked all around. Ended up being an amazing kind of introduction to New York because that was like an immediate job that I got. And, like making kind of relationships in New York happens very quickly. And so the first people you meet end up being like a lot of the people you end up having your relationships with in New York the entire time you're there. So a lot of my best friends that I knew in my time in New York were the people that I ended up meeting there at Mission Cantina. So all of this kind of random stuff happening, but ended up being all for great things. So I hung out there for like a month and a half. I think it was like 2 months at the most, before finally getting the call from Cosme. And they're like, all right, next week it's go time.
Let's
so
go.
Yeah. And so I had to tell Danny, it's that time. I have to, make myself available. And, he was stoked for me for sure. And so that's when I first met Enrique, was that first week of the Cosme kind of orientation and friends and family and all that kind of soft opening. And my first kind of impression was he's chill. Like he's a good guy. He's a cool guy. Like he's like, at that point before, it was just someone that I had kind of read about or heard about, looked through his cookbooks, obviously looked up to in as a chef in Mexican cuisine. But, you always kind of think that chefs are super intimidating and are kind of scary, but, no, a super, super welcoming person. And
sure,
obviously,
of course,
obviously had his kind of like, need to manage the situation and to make sure that we're, getting the best out of us and all that kind of stuff. But, honestly, it was again, another super welcoming situation in a Mexican restaurant, in a Mexican kitchen. And it just kind of, again, reinforced that feeling that I had when I stepped into La Condesa, and then now stepping into Cosme and having that feeling of, this is just how we are, as Mexicans, and we just kind of exist this way. And it was a beautiful feeling being there for sure. Challenging as hell. That opening was definitely the hardest thing that I've ever done in my career.
I mean, there were so many eyes on it. Everyone
I think was the reason
was looking
for
at it. Yeah. It was everywhere. And it was also the time when, Instagram was really popping with food, and the, the corn merengue dessert was like everywhere. So just, it's a lot of pressure. Even for people not coming in, you still felt that those eyes were on the restaurant as well.
Yeah, the pressure was insane. I mean, at that time, if you can imagine, obviously now Chef Enrique is much more in a kind of mentor kind of role, but at that time he was expediting services at Cosme. So I was standing right in front of him, doing service and everything. So for me, that was incredibly intimidating. But again, it was a welcoming situation, and everybody was allowed to kind of, comfortably get into their best selves and allow for Cosme to really become what it became. But the pressure was real for sure. The eyes and the attention every single day. There was, 5 to 10 to I don't know how many different world famous chefs walking through the kitchen after their dinner, and kitchen tours and press. And for me, I mean, I had just come from Texas, where it's a little bit more humble. You don't, like, New York City was still a shock to me. I had only been there for a few months. So seeing all of these people walk through the kitchen was intimidating, but at the same time, it was always incredible feedback. So we were,
of course,
super prideful of being, I guess at that point, Mexican food just was still in its infant stages, and here in the United States. So
yeah, of course,
we were proud to be representing it the best way we could, for sure.
Now, I don't want to skip over completely that you left for a little bit and you went to Brooklyn to work at one of my favorite spots, Torst and Luxus, because those are legendary Nordic bars and restaurant in my mind. But I do want to get to you moving out to LA. How did Enrique convince you? Because let's be honest, like, you're set up in New York. Like, it sounds like you have a network. You know all the chefs. You're now at another restaurant with a completely different cuisine. How did he get you to move across the country, especially when the track record of chefs and restaurateurs coming in outside of LA to open up is not a great track record for the entire industry?
over a glass of mezcal.
Yeah, there we
honest
go.
with you.
There we go.
At that time, I had been just, I guess, promoted to the head chef at Torst. And I wanted to take a little bit of time off. So I went down to Mexico City, which I hadn't done for way too long. And so I just gave myself kind of a solo trip down there. I went to Puyol for the first time in my life. I went to Puyol on that trip. And I didn't let anybody know that I was there. I didn't let anybody know that I was a line cook from Cosme that used to work there. I had actually been a sous chef at Cosme, so I didn't let anybody know. But obviously, you know, it's a high-end restaurant. They're going to look through the reservation, so they must have seen my name there.
Yeah, of course.
And at that time, the general manager, Eden Diaz, she had been at Cosme for some time. So she approached me at the table and you know, salutations, big hug, hello, how are you doing? All that kind of stuff. And then she invited me back the next day and she's like, hey, we really want you to have the omakase. So come on back the next day. And, you know, we invite you. It's on us. We just want you to have a good time. So for me, I'm super excited. I'm just getting to experience Puyol in the best way possible. I go back. I go back the next day to have the omakase. And she sits with me again. And this time I'm starting to feel like,
what's going on?
She sits with me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like she sits with me. We're having like, you know, regular conversation, but she's kind of deep diving into my life a little bit. Like, you know, what are you doing? How, you know, how do you have, you know, what's your family situation? You know, all that kind of stuff. And at that time I'm starting to think in my head, like, these are kind of interesting questions, but okay. And then she kind of cuts the bullshit and she goes straight into it. And she's like, all right, well, so as you know, Chef Enrique is expanding. He's got lots of different projects going on. And he's just looking for people that he's worked with before that he trusts and that, you know, he can kind of mold something together with and whatever the words were that she kind of used. And, you know, for me, my heart is like kind of beating like crazy at that point. I'm just trying to have this dinner there. And so it's super exciting to kind of hear that this is happening. But for me, it's like, maybe they're going to ask me to come back to Cosme and, you know, continue to be a sous chef there, which, you know, I would have thought about and would have been interesting to me, but, you know, wasn't a for sure thing. So she's like, would you like to come back tomorrow once again to have lunch with Enrique? He would love to sit down with you for just, you know, 10 to 15 minutes and just chat. So I was like, yeah, for sure. Obviously. So I came back once again the next day and this time there's no bullshitting. He just cuts straight to the chase. You know, first a little hello.
Hi, how are you? How's it going?
Yeah. He asked, are you hungry? No. Okay.
Do you want some ants and mole? You know, no, chef. Thank you, chef.
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. But you know, so
why are we
all
here?
that just, mezcal, just grabs a little mezcal. We start, you know, drinking a little bit and then he just cuts right to it. And he just tells me, so you know, same kind of deal that Eden had just mentioned to me the night before. I'm expanding. There's a lot of projects going on and I have a couple of things that I think you might be interested in. And the first one he mentioned to me was a little bit more focused on some work in Mexico. And I told him, you know, just kind of flat out, I think at that time in my life, moving to Mexico would have been a little bit more challenging for me. And I just wasn't ready for something like that yet. And in that moment, I think like time really slowed down for me. And I caught myself and I thought, what a stupid thing to say. Cause like, why would I, you know, turn this down? But then he immediately came back at me and he said, well, I'm opening a restaurant in Los Angeles. Would you like to be the head chef?
Boom.
And that was like, he quickly asked it like that. And then without a second's thought, I said, absolutely. And
you know, and I have to imagine that he knew that there'd be an equal amount of eyes on this opening as well as when Cosme opened up in New York. So also not just you being in his kitchen previously, but knowing the pressure of having the culinary community looking at it had to have counted for something as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think at that time, I you know, and maybe this isn't the case, but also myself being Mexican-American and growing up in El Paso, which is a city that has so many similarities to Los Angeles. I think made a little bit of sense, not just maybe for me without me thinking about it, but maybe for him. And yeah, I mean, in the same way, I think that Cosme had a lot of pressure and attention, but this time we were coming to a city with a lot of Mexican, culture and influence and background. So there was a kind of a different kind of pressure this time. I think last time opening up in New York City, it was a little bit of a first, a little bit of if it doesn't work out, it's maybe wasn't supposed to be, or maybe Mexican food in a fine dining environment just isn't kind of ready to be in that city yet, or whatever the case might be. But coming here is to a city where Mexican food and Mexican culture is fully established. I think the last thing that we ever wanted anyone to think that we were coming here to prove any kind of point, or to be that big name restaurant,
of course,
or to be that huge successful hit, in the media or financially, or whatever the case might be. But more so just to join the community that had already been established for, at this point, many, many, many years.
Yeah, because I think I found a lot of chefs coming in from other cities thinking that LA isn't the culinary powerhouse that it is, and saying, we're going to show you how it's done. And everyone going like, well, yes, we know how it's done. Here's 7 restaurants at 7 different levels that are doing what you think LA hasn't been doing or cooking.
Yeah. So we just wanted to be a part of it. We're not. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to be a part of here. And for us, it was as simple as that. We just want to be a part of that community.
It's great. So in a bit of a full circle moment, Pujol is coming to Damian this week for a week-long series of collab dinners, which I believe sold out immediately, or almost immediately, the second it was announced. So for those who are lucky enough to have reservations, or those who might be able to snag a seat at the bar, what can people expect from the dinners coming up next week?
It's a super exciting menu. It's a bunch of classics from Pujol's history. We're going to be doing a few of the, I'll name a couple of the ones that I think are most obvious. The baby corn with the chicatana mayonnaise. The mole madre will be on the menu as well. Apart from that, I'll leave it up to surprise and let that kind of come out naturally. But I mean, I think that's the most important thing is representing Pujol as best as possible here at Damian. I know that it's for us, it's a huge honor to have them here. For, as you mentioned, full circle. Pujol was kind of the restaurant that any Mexican cook would ever want to work at. So for me, it was definitely a big goal in the early stages of my career. And obviously now working for Chef Enrique for so many years, it's less of a kind of a dream come true, and more so more of, I guess it feels a little bit more of like a responsibility to kind of
more earned.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, I'm always working hard to represent Chef Enrique's his name and his work that he's done prior to anything that we've put together with as much respect as possible. I mean, so many of the recipes that we use have gone through a few of the different restaurants, and a lot of them are Pujol's as well. And I think whenever we use some of the recipes here at the restaurant, it's a great example for me with the cooks to kind of explain to them how important it is to pay respect to not only this situation, but whenever you're pulling kind of recipes from a cookbook or kind of being inspired by chefs or processes out there, and making sure that you're doing all the research and paying respect. So that's kind of the way we feel with Pujol coming here. I think we'll do an excellent job of representing Pujol as it is, but here in our space. So obviously we're here in California, we're here in Los Angeles. There's going to be some natural touches.
Of course.
But anybody that is coming out to the dinner, I hope more than anything else, it feels just like Pujol.
I love it. Now, I've been lucky enough to been at the restaurant late at night when the music switches over to Enrique's playlist. Could people expect a musical component to be a big part of these dinners happening next week?
I think so. I mean, I think that's one of the cool things about all of the restaurants. They all have their own identity through these kind of detailed touches, and the music plays a huge part in each one of the restaurants. Here, you'll find at Damian that will have a little bit more of a looser playlist than you would find maybe at Cosme or at Puyol.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find a little bit more kind of like, you know, cumbia and reggaeton and kind of a little bit more vibey late night stuff here all the time at Damian. Whereas at Cosme and Puyol, it's maybe a little bit more kind of more classic Mexican music, a little bit more jazz to it. So I think so. I think maybe we'll probably start the night out with some of the more kind of classic music that you got at Puyol. And then as we get into the night, any of our late diners, you know, a lot of the time you'll see that our restaurant does turn into a little bit of a party. So once you hear that music transition, especially when Chef Enrique is in the house, he does kind of like to have a little bit of a festivity going. So, if you hear that transition into a little bit of cumbia or a little bit of reggaeton or something like that, you know that maybe you can approach the bar and there might be a little party later on in the night.
I love it. Well, listen, Chuy, thank you so much for sharing your life with us and for sitting down, and congratulations on everything. If people want to come to the restaurant or see what you're up to and maybe try and sneak in for a seat at the bar this week, where can they go? How can they follow along?
So, you know, walk in anytime here at the restaurant. We have plenty of space at the bar. For the Puyol event, definitely reach out to us. Look us up on Google. Give us a shout and see if we can open up some reservations. I think we're going to play the game kind of that way. If we have any cancellations or any kind of space opening up, more so kind of give us a call and see if we can open up something for you. But when it's Damian, we usually save a ton of space for walk-ins. So we always have plenty of space, especially at the bar.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much to Parker for setting this up. We have a song from the archives and a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Swept by trunks, sweating round me. People are king and commoner, raided by the invisible yokes of reason and the warm tyranny of the familiar. Open my eyes again to hear a man call my name. As I reach for him, I found a friend. Seems to me I walked on water. Now did I dream of the stranger? I'm no longer sure I understand. The crossing deepens with every truth I discover. No, I stood outside the banks of heaven, wonder if I'll ever wanna belong to in your byword. Sometimes surround me to reach for that wedge lay beyond. I've seen faith in action, joy of each other, was whole armies pick either bone or brow. Mock warriors like that be one myself, for thus I was led, but I no longer follow. I hold a thought and walk off my pier with hands outstretched to grasp the other, and I'm on feet that are yearning to rediscover the feel of comic steps carved on water.
This episode is brought to you by Plugra European-style butter, crafted for those who demand precision and exceptional results in the kitchen. With 82% butter fat and a slow churn process, Plugra gives you flakier crusts, fluffier cakes, and rich, melt-in-your-mouth pastries, because great baking starts with great butter. Unlike standard American butters, which have only 80% butter fat, Plugra ensures the ideal moisture and fat balance so your recipes turn out just right every time. That's why professional chefs trust Plugra and home bakers love it. Plugra's slow churn process creates a smooth, creamy butter that gives dough a soft, pliable texture, making rolling, folding, and laminating effortless. Whether you're perfecting a buttery pie crust or layering a delicate croissant, Plugra helps you bake with confidence. Experience the difference for yourself. Find Plugra in stores near you or visit plugra.com. That's Plugra.com.
I want to welcome to the studio Big Ups, who up and left as our producer engineers and broke my heart.
Hello. Hello.
But we're super excited. Why don't you guys all introduce yourself? Let us know who you are.
Hello, I'm Brendan. I play the drums.
I'm Joe. I'm the vocalist.
I'm Carlos. I play the bass. I'm Amar. I play the guitar.
Carlos, first question to you. How's your bass face?
Can you see this? You see that?
Oh, yeah. It's a good bass face.
It's very on point.
It's very on point. So, big year for you guys. You put out your first album.
That's true.
Came out in January. 2 great reviews. A lot of popularity.
Yeah, people liked it. That's great.
And the name of it is?
18 Hours of Static.
So, how did you guys get started? How did you all meet? Where do you guys all come from?
We were all in the same music program at NYU. That's where we all met. And that's it's really interesting because there's a little bit of a family here involving the same NYU music program and Heritage Radio Network. Mm-hmm. Jack Inslee.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Who's deep in Manchester, Tennessee right now.
Full service party.
Full service. Full circle.
Yeah, full circle, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's DJing right now, and he also was in the program, and Liz, who's engineering right now, is also in the program. And all
Shout out to Liz, our new engineer.
Hey, Liz.
Hey, Liz.
So we all did that, and then we just started a band. The three of us, you can't see who I'm pointing to, but Amar, myself, and Brennan, we were in a surf rock band, an instrumental surf rock band.
Really? Like
Yeah.
Dick Dale type stuff?
Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
I mean, I didn't know anyone started surf rock bands these days.
Well, it's one of Brendan's friends is a really, like, he's a huge surf rock nerd. I would have been in this band.
Shadowy
anyway.
Men on a Shadowy Planet, all that type of stuff.
Like, he makes surf rock zines, and he lives and breathes it. And he asked us to kind of be his backing band. He was the lead guitarist. I was playing bass, and then
Is there a surf rock scene?
if you go to Otto Shrunken Head on 14th Street,
Yeah,
surf rock
okay.
is alive and well.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
okay.
That's it. That's basically it. We were by far the youngest band, probably by 30 years, playing at that place. But then Nick, who started that band, left the city, and we still wanted to make a band. And I was listening to a
You
lot
wanna
of
chase the waves?
heavy music, and we had to keep riding the tasty waves of rock and roll.
Nice.
And so we started Big Ups.
How'd Carlos get involved?
Oh, Carlos got involved because he and I worked on a school project where we had to dub over.
We're 5 years old on a school project.
We had to build a birdhouse out of popsicle sticks.
Yeah.
And you're like, I like the way you glue, sir.
Yeah, he was just eating glue and got really, I don't know, just had a weird moment. No, but we dubbed over the Cowboy Bebop movie. We redid for a scene in the Cowboy Bebop movie that was about 7 or 8 minutes long. We did the music and all the sound effects, so we were working together a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it took a lot of time, and I thought he was funny. I didn't really know if he was a good bass player, but I thought Carlos was funny, so then I was like, you want to play bass in this band?
Was his dub face the same as his bass face?
I can't even remember back then. We were mostly like sliding staplers down the hallway for like when the guns fell and stuff like that, recording that.
Oh.
So his stapler face is pretty good.
You guys use a lot of Foley sounds on the new album?
No, that's more of a Mar. I don't really know. There's some weird stuff going on in there.
Is there any Foley sounds somewhere?
There's some like chopped and screwed sounds. I think there's one track where Brennan starts yelling at the end, and we just faded it out. But you can like kind of hear it. We did one record where there's like a lot of bottles breaking and like throwing sticks and cans around like that.
All right.
That's like a 7-inch we did a long time ago.
Yeah.
Shout out Mike Quigley.
So how did you go from surf rock to the sort of like post-punk sort of in-your-face type of music?
Well, it took a while, actually. Our early stuff was very more kind of like still in the same vein as surf rock in that it was like a lot of major tonality, like almost pop punk kind of stuff. And then, I don't know, wasn't listening to any music like that, and then we just started writing a few more songs, and it kind of just shifted in this direction. I don't think there was really anything conscious about it. I just think that all the songs that sounded more in that vein kind of got weeded out because we didn't like playing them anymore. So
I hate this song.
Yeah.
I used to love it, now I hate it.
yeah, there's a lot of that, actually.
Let's hear a song. Let's hear a tune. Enough talking about the music.
Yeah, let's do a tune.
What are you going to play?
We're gonna play a song called "Wool." It's by far we're playing "Wool," Carlos. Yeah, it's by far the longest song we've ever written. So,
How long is it?
it's like 4.5 minutes.
Okay. All right.
It's good. Well, we're doing like a weird acoustic version or
All right.
stripped down. So
Well, I'm going to
good.
settle in with a piece of pizza and a beer.
Yeah, that's a good way to enjoy.
All right,
it.
here we go. Big Ups live on Snacky Tunes.
In a room, in a tomb with a broom. Try to sweep away the clouds and the gloom. Daylight savings and pencil shavings. Scrawl on the wall, predictions of the fall. But I don't mind.
nice.
Cool. Thanks.
Super cool. So what was it like putting out your first album? How did the whole process go? Of like writing and selecting songs?
Was it
easy?
It was pretty easy, basically, because we didn't really have any plans to put out an album because we hadn't really thought about it. But the label approached us and said, "We want to put out your album."
Which label should I know?
It's called Dead Labor. It's a brand new label. We're the first record they put out. They have a few things in the works.
So they're one for one.
They're one for one.
Batting 1,000.
They did a pretty good job with our record. I'm pretty really ecstatic. They're really nice folks, and they did.
New York based, Brooklyn based?
New York, yeah, Brooklyn, right down Broadway, kind of close to here, a few blocks from here. So,
shout out.
Yeah, and so they approached us, and we basically took all the songs that we hadn't recorded and put them on the record and filled it in with a few other newer things. So, it turned out to be cohesive, kind of not by design but by accident.
Hey,
it worked. We threw it together, and it's a record. So,
hey, it's a record. That should have been the name.
Yeah. Hey, check it out.
Hey, check it out. It's a record.
Just buy it.
So you guys are all friends. Seems like you guys like hang out a bit.
Yeah, we hang out a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I haven't seen them in like 2 or 3 days, it's kind of been a while. I feel like
that's sort of cute.
Yeah, it's very cute.
You guys cook a lot, eat a lot together.
Yeah, Carlos does a lot of cooking. Amar does a lot of cooking.
Yeah, what you guys getting into?
Oh, what?
You're cooking.
Yeah, I do that.
You make us food sometimes. We have.
Oh yeah, I do.
Carlos made us really good fried chicken one time.
Oh yeah, that was
really
buttermilk fried chicken
and potato salad. Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Fried chicken is like it's an endeavor for band practice.
Yeah, it was like a meeting.
It was a meeting.
We were talking about like how it was before we started recording the record. We were talking about like we sat down with our engineer and we were talking about like the kind of sounds we wanted to get, and so we figured like let's make this a hospitable occasion. This is our engineer coming over, who's also a friend of ours. His name's Charlie. But yeah, figure if we're going to spend some time together, might as well make it enjoyable.
What do you get into? What do you cook?
Pretty much anything. I kind of just I work.
That's good.
Me and Joe have also worked at a butcher shop before.
Really?
So we have access. Actually, Patrick's butcher shop, the guy who runs this network.
Shout out Heritage Meats.
It's very incestuous here.
Yeah.
So we're lucky enough to have access to some like really nice, meat for kind of wholesale, which lends itself a lot to like trying new cuts, like stuff that's left over that people don't want to use, or just like especially in this time of year where it's like grilling, it's just like nice steaks or pork chops and stuff, and then like finding stuff that goes along with that. I've been reading a lot of the Silver Spoon cookbook, which is a really awesome
great cookbook.
Italian cookbook.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. What you feeling this summer? What's your spice? Go-to spice?
My spice?
Yeah.
I'm starting to use paprika a lot. I don't know.
Great.
It's like
great choice.
it's like a spice, but it's more like smelling spice.
It's aromatic. It's great.
Yeah. Aromatic. That's the word.
My grandmother is from Hungary, so paprika's been in my food since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And what do you cook? What do you get into?
I make a lot of like lasagna. My girlfriend really likes lasagna, so I cook that for her a lot. And then I make a lot of curries.
Baby, you want lasagna?
Yeah,
make you lasagna.
But I've been trying to like learn how to make proper curries because my parents could cook them and my grandparents could cook them. But it's like, it's like all about how you combine the spices and stuff.
It's the base, right?
It's the base. It's also like the order of things and how long you cook them for. Like if you start with onions and then add garlic, it tastes way different than if you add garlic and then add onions. Because you're cooking it for so long and because everything is like smell based.
Right.
It's like
aromatics.
Yeah, it's all
aromatics.
There's the word again. Yeah.
Have you asked your parents and grandparents for tips?
Yeah, I like call my mom every couple weeks, just being like, "So what if I did this?" And she's like, "No, just do this one thing, and then do this other thing, and it'll be really simple." And sometimes you can add this, and you can also try this and this, and maybe if you have some of this, it's like kind of overload. But
right.
there's a million different things to try and taste, so it's awesome.
Do you not have like a generational family curry recipe?
There are definitely some generational family recipes.
Do you have to earn the right to get access to that recipe?
No, it's mostly just practice. Like things like making like rotis is actually surprisingly hard. Like rolling out the dough and getting the right consistency and getting it to like puff up in the right way. It's all practice. It's super, super hard.
That's awesome though. Yeah. Carrying on the tradition.
Yeah, man.
Are your parents super pumped that you're making curry?
No, I wouldn't say pumped, but they're like happy I know how to do it, you know?
Did you hear that our son made curry today?
He's going to survive. He's not going to starve. He can cook for himself.
Curry. All right, let's hear an aromatic tune. You got something with good smell?
Yeah, this is a good one. We're just gonna make sure we're in tune for a second.
Okay. Do you need a tuning fork? Best food music pun.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Thank you. Thank you. The fundamentals of talk radio.
Cool. I think we're actually going to play a cover song.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you... a lot of our songs don't really lend themselves to being quiet, so a lot of it really is dependent on turning the amp up real loud. So we're going to try... This song is by the Foo Fighters.
Awesome. Another band to watch. Them and David Byrne. They are...
Yeah.
This is their year, I feel.
About them.
Okay, here we go. Big Ups covering Foo Fighters here on Snacky Tunes.
Talk about it carries on, reasons only new. When I talk about it, treaties are treasons all renew. Beg me to talk about it, I can't stand to prove. If we can get around it, I know that it's true. When I talk about it, carries on, reasons only new. But it's you I fell into. Well, I talked about it, carried on, reasons only new. Well, I talked about it, Aries or treasons all renew. Beg me to talk about it, I can't stand to prove. If we could get around it, I know that it's true. When I talked about it, put it on, never was it true. But it's you I fell into. Well, I talked about it, put it on, never was it true. But it's you I fell into. I fell into. I fell into.
Fell into.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I messed up the words a little bit, but
it's all right.
Do you think Dave Grohl's listening?
Yeah.
He's a long-time listener, first-time caller.
You're actually the second band to do a Foo Fighters cover. We had like a classical three-piece, and they did an instrumental cover of Everlong. That was
that's pretty
bomb
sick.
out awesome.
That's
to this day, I think Everlong's still one of my favorite songs.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah,
we got time. I got all the time in the world for that song. Hey, by the way, great karaoke song.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh
You just kind of like belt it out and rip your shirt off. And one of those kind of things.
By the time I'm singing Everlong, my shirt's been...
It's already off.
So the album's out. You guys have been playing a lot in support of it?
Yeah, we've been on tour a lot. I think that we've played like 60 shows since February.
Wow.
We've been playing a lot.
All over the country?
All over. We played... I wouldn't say all over the country. We made it as far west as the Midwest. We were in Europe in...
That's baller.
We were in Europe in May, and we were did a week in the UK in February. So yeah.
How were those shows?
First time in UK, it was weird just because we had no idea what the music culture and scene is like over there. So it was kind of like adjusting. At least that's how I feel.
Did you get spit on a lot?
No, I didn't get spit on. I threw up once in a bathroom. I got food poisoning. But
really?
Yeah, that was. I hope I don't offend our UK listeners here, but the food there isn't very good.
No, that's not true.
The food I ate was not very good.
That might be true.
Yeah, that's probably very true. I ate a sandwich from the gas station. That probably did it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That was
Anytime you're eating food from the gas station, roll that dice.
Yeah, exactly. Prawns and mayonnaise. White bread.
Guys, don't you remember that Futurama episode? Look it up. There's a prawns and mayonnaise. Anyway.
What? Oh my God. That's so sweet. We got to watch that.
Yeah. It does not end well.
Yeah, it didn't end well for me.
It did not end well. So what's coming up for the rest of the summer? You guys getting in the van? Do you guys have a van? What do you got? Sprinter?
Well, in Europe we rent a Sprinter-like vehicle, but for transit, we have a van that we lovingly refer to as Trey Blueford because we like Trey Anastasio from Fish, and it's a Blue Ford.
Okay.
And next weekend we're going to Philly, which I know.
Shout out.
There you go. We're going.
Where are you playing?
We're playing a house show. It's called a place called the Brown House.
Is it?
It's like
Please let it not be a brown house.
I think it's probably a brown house.
That'd be so meta if it wasn't. If it was like a green house.
Yeah, at the
I
brown
would
house.
love that. Yeah.
And then we're going to D.C. and Baltimore after that. And
nice.
And then we'll see what comes up. We're going back to Europe.
Little Mid-Atlantic, Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, my favorite area of the United States that that's what I'm going to say that right.
Where are you going to play in D.C.?
Another house show, and then in Baltimore playing at the Auto Bar. It's the only.
Oh yeah.
The only one. We're playing at the Dugout in D.C. So if you're listening in D.C. and you want to chill at the Dugout, 2-Inch Astronaut, great band. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you guys like more, house shows or like venue shows?
I think everyone could weigh in on this one. I think personally it depends. Sometimes you go to a house show and we played, no offense to Philly. One time we played in Philly and we were like, hey, what's up? We're from Brooklyn. We're here to play. They're like, of course you are. Fuck you. And it was just like so hostile. And then other times we've played at venues where everyone's freaking out. I think it really depends on the crowd. But house shows are generally pretty fun though.
House shows are fun. It's like no rules.
Okay, I thought Brendan wanted to say something.
Brendan, nothing?
I'm just leaning forward, just
staring.
Yeah.
Yeah. A good house show a good basement show is just, it's awesome. It's elevated.
It's great. We played one in New Jersey a few months ago. That was great. Every band was awesome. People there were super nice. There was a mural of like a cat drinking Mountain Dew on the wall.
See, guys, you should go to New Jersey.
Yeah, go to
Brunswick.
Cat murals in New Brunswick.
That place was called Cooler Ranch.
Oh my
after
God.
the Doritos. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was a great place.
God,
Yeah.
and you want to go to like Southeast Asia and places like that.
Boring.
Yeah, we'll put you in touch-
Cooler Ranch.
Yeah, go to Cooler Ranch.
Go to Cooler Ranch. Oh my goodness. So you're playing there, and then any new music coming out? Or you're just gonna ride this album for a bit?
Well, we might have a 7-inch coming out, but that's it'll just be a few songs. It's going to be a split with our friends Washer. This is the first time we've really talked about this, but that's all the info I'm releasing about it.
Okay.
Sound good?
Is that a Snacky Tunes exclusive?
Yeah. Let's go
Oh
with that.
my goodness. The stage just keeps getting better.
Yeah. There's still so much pizza to eat.
I know. Well, there's 4 of you and there's 4 slices left, so do the math.
I'll do the Alfredo.
All right. Well, I want to get one more song, but I want to make sure people can find you guys online. What's the nuts and bolts?
Bigups.bandcamp.com.
Shout out to Bandcamp.
And then pretty much everything else, if you like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, all that stuff, it's We Are Big Ups, spelled out like a sentence.
Ooh, who got Big Ups?
Probably some DJ.
There's a DJ in Idaho named Big Ups.
Come on.
Yeah.
Internet people.
I feel like a 14-year-old might have Big Ups as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an AAIM screen name or something.
How's your Instagram game?
It's pretty good. We have lots of, like weird pictures of me, Carlos sleeping, and videos of people screaming in the Alps and stuff like that. Like driving through the Alps screaming while listening to Jurassic Park songs. I don't know.
New Jurassic Park song?
Well, not new Jurassic Park. The Jurassic Park theme song. Like it's playing and screaming, and then also check out ECBANDB.com. That's where all of our shows are listed. Stands for East Coast Basements Bedrooms.
Ooh.
There we go. It's more East Coast stuff.
DIY Network. Well, I want to thank you guys, Mood Magazine. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the private concert.
Oh my God. Well, we got one more song. We're going to take the next few weeks off as we're going to go travel a bit ourselves. And then we'll be back mid-July. So I guess happy July 4th.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already July 4th. Well, it's not quite yet. Shout out to Roberto's and Heritage Radio Network, and please support the network. Become a member today. Do your duty. And thank you to everyone who came out to the barbecue blowout, to Bunker and Wolves especially, who really, really knocked it out. Next one's coming up July 15th with Ducky, who's past music guest, who we know and love. She'll be DJing, and then Pig and Cow, Leah Cohen's going to be on the grill. One more song. What do we got?
This song's called Hard to Care. It's a little bit of an old one, but we're going to whip it out for you.
All right. Thanks for listening to Snacky Tunes. We'll see you soon.
It's hard to care. Caring doesn't get you anywhere. It's hard to care. No one else does. When I think about all the things I care about, I wonder if I will in a month. So sometimes I gotta grab a hold and ask myself, when you look in the mirror, does it reflect your regret or fear that the person looking back isn't who you want to be? In fact, I lose a bit of myself and harm my mental health in the self-contained cell where I choose to live, where the derivatives and the don't give a shits suck the milk from the tits and say, look what I did. When you look in the mirror, does it reflect regret or fear that the person looking back isn't who you want to be? In fact, no. I think I lost a bit of myself. I think I lost a bit of myself out there. Help me find it. I don't know. I don't really care.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.